million this year. And we went from a Canadian company to really a global entity. We do a lot of business in the States, UK, Australia, everywhere.
Right. Well, you're certainly a celebrity. We love having you on theCUBE, our little Shark Tank in and of itself. But you're also an entrepreneur, right? And you know the business. You've been in software, you're in the tech business, so you're a tech athlete, as we say. This world's changing right now, and on Shark Tank you get a lot of pitches as entertainment meets business, but the fact that the entrepreneurial activity, certainly in the Bay Area and Silicon Valley where I live and all around the world, is really active. Whether you call it the programmer or culture, or just the fact that the cloud is allowing people to start companies, you're seeing a surge in entrepreneurship in the enterprise, which is like, was boring in the past, you know? You mentioned Checkpoint, the old days, but now it's surging. What are your thoughts on the entrepreneurial climate?
I don't know if the enterprise entrepreneurship element is surging. By the way, I'm going to say intrapreneur, just the way I say it. Cuban always makes fun of me. So we don't say it like that in America. I'm like, screw off.
That's how you say it.
I was like, I want to say it the way I want to say it.
Well, internal entrepreneurs, right? That's what you mean by intrapreneurship?
Well, no, it's just the way I say it.
It's a Canadian thing.
Yeah, but business to business enterprise, we've always been in the enterprise business. So we're seeing a lot of growth in that area. A lot of VC money is going into that area because it's more, you know, you can measure that level of return and you can go and get those customers. But on our show, we're a bubble. We don't do a lot of tech deals like we're talking because it's boring TV. Tech people love tech. Consumers love the benefit of tech. You know, no consumer opens up their iPhone and says, oh my gosh, I love the technology behind my iPhone. They just love their iPhone. And our show is really a consumer platform that is... It's
on cable TV, so it's got a big audience, so you got to hit the wide swath.
We're one of the highest rated shows on network television, 8 years, 3 Emmys, you know, it's a big show now. And what we've all learned, because Mark Cuban and I are tech guys, when we used to look for stuff we know, we don't invest in stuff we know anymore. We invest in slippers, ugly Christmas sweaters, food products, because if you can tap into that consumer base, you're good to go.
So bottom line, has it been fun for you? I mean, the show has been great. It's been, obviously the awards are great. Has it been fun for you? What's it been like? What's the personal feeling on being on the Shark Tank?
You know, filming is fun, and hanging out is fun, and it's fun to be a celebrity at first. Your head gets really big, and you get really good tables at restaurants, and you know, there's no sporting
People recognize you.
Yeah, and
you get to be on theCUBE. I get to happen every day, probably.
You know, you get to go everywhere, but after a while, it gets pretty dry. But it really helps our brand. We compete typically against IBM, Verizon, and you know, the CEO of IBM, you're not going to see him selling you security.
Well, I know they're doing a lot, spending a lot of cash on Watson trying to get that to work, but that's a whole other story. But let's get down and dirty on Splunk. You're here because you're doing a talk. Give a quick take on what you're talking about. Why are you here at .com for Splunk?
Yeah, we're doing a talk on data transformation, and you know, the world today is about data. And the amount of data points and access points and the Internet of Things, it's just exponential growth. You know, the stat I always love, and Tiff's heard it 1,000 times, is there's roughly 3 billion people on the Internet today, and there's roughly 6 billion or 7 billion IP addresses. By 2020, according to the IPv committee, there'll be 5-6 billion people connected and hundreds of trillions of IP addresses.
And the IoT is going to add more surface area to security attacks. I mean, it used to be the old days, you mean Checkpoint, the moat, the firewall.
Yeah, well, the idea of the perimeter is gone now. There is no such thing as a perimeter anymore because everything you can access. And so a lot of work in that area, and all of that comes to data and log aggregation. And what we've seen for years is that the SIM vendors wanted to provide more analytics, but if you really think about it, the ultimate analytics engine is Splunk. And Splunk now with their ESM module is moving more into the security world and really taking away market share. So we're very excited by it. We have a great relationship with the Splunk guys. We see nothing but future.
And you guys are using Splunk and working with it with your customers?
We do. We've been using Splunk for a while. We have a private cloud. Tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, so you know, we eat our own dog food. So not only do we sell Splunk, but we also use it in-house. We've been using it for over 5 years. It powers our analytics platform, which is a fancy way to say reduces the noise from all the different clutter, from all the IoT, from all the different type of alerts that are coming in. Companies need a way to filter through all that noise. We use Splunk to solve that problem for us internally. And then of course we sell it and we manage it for global 2,000 customers, Fortune 100 companies all over the world.
Tell us about the role of data, because data transformation has been a big buzzword. It's a holistic message around businesses digitizing and getting digital assets in front of their customers. We have a big research division that does all this stuff. But at the end of the day, the digitization of your business means you're going to have to go digital all the way. And the role of data is not the old data warehousing days. Fenced away, pull it in. Now you need data moving around. You need organic sharing of data. Data's driving policies and new pattern recognitions for security. How do you guys see that evolve? How do you talk to your customers? Because in a way, the old stuff can work if you use the data differently. We're seeing a pattern like, hey, that's an algorithm I used 10 years ago. But now with new data, that might be workable. What are some of the things that you're seeing now that customers are doing, that you talk to, that are leveraging data like Splunk in a new way?
Right.
Well, that's really where Splunk adds so much value, because a friend of mine is the dean of USC, and he has a great saying: more data is not necessarily more information. And so the mistake that we see customers making a lot is they're collecting the data, but they're not doing the right things with it.
Right.
And that's really where Splunk and that level of granularity can add tremendous value, not just from logging, but from analytics and going upstream with it.
Yeah, and also to that point, it's just automation. There's too much data,
Great point.
and it's only going to get bigger, right? Based on the rest that Robert rattled off. Now, we need some machine learning analytics to move it further. And all points aside, machine learning isn't where it needs to be right now. Today in the market, it still has a long way to go. I would call it a work in progress. But however, it's the promise, right? Because there's too much data, and to secure it, to automate behavior is really what.
It's a double-edged sword. The innovation strategy these companies are taking, they're growing with mobility, growing with cloud, increasing the service area, IoT. Yeah. But the supervised areas of the enterprise were the doors, right?
Right.
Lock the doors, and the perimeter is now dead. So now you have an unsupervised environment in the enterprise at risk. Once the hackers get in, they're having their way.
Oh, the internet is like a kindergarten playground where there are no rules and the teacher went home at lunch.
Yeah.
That is the internet.
And high
Kids
school.
are
I think it would be
throwing
up through
crap
high
at
school.
each other.
Kindergarten through high school.
And you have different age kids in there.
It's chaos. Bedlam.
Very well said. The internet is chaos, but by nature, that's what we want the internet to be. We don't want to control the chaos because we limit our ability to communicate, and that's really the promise of the internet. It's not the responsibility of the internet to police itself, it's the responsibility of each enterprise.
So what new things are happening? We're seeing successes. We're reporting on companies that have been successful. Are the ones that are doing the reverse of what was once done, or said differently, new ways of doing things? Throwing out, kind of trying to do a hybrid legacy approach to security. We're seeing the new ways, new things, new better cat and mouse games, better honeypots, intelligent fabrics. What do you guys recommend to your customers? And what do you see in your talk? This digital transformation is definitely a real trend. And security is the catastrophic time bomb that's ticking for all customers. Yeah. So it dwarfs compliance, risk management, current.
Well, I don't know if that's necessarily true that it's a time bomb. The number one driver for security still is compliance. We sell stuff people don't really want to buy. Nobody wakes up in the morning and says, gee, I want to go spend another $5 million on security. Mm-hmm. Right. They do it, frankly, because they have to. If none of their competitors were spending money on security, I don't think most enterprises would. Right. I mean, it's whenever you have to do something because it's good to do, you have a limited upcycle. When you do something because there's a compliance reason to do it, or bad things happen to you, you're really going to do it.
You don't think there's consumer pressure then to have to do this? Otherwise, I mean...
Interesting stat. The Wall Street Journal did a study and asked 1,000 people on the street corner in New York if for a hamburger, they would give away their social insurance number, their home number, and their name. 72% of people gave out that information freely.
Better be a good hamburger.
Yeah.
Well, back to your point, though, I want to get
So I think consumers have an expectation of security, and how they police that is they simply go to somebody else. So if you're my retailer and you get breached, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go next door. But I think that the average consumer's expectation is security is your responsibility, not mine.
Okay, so on the B2B side, I want to push on something that I kind of disagree with. If compliance, I agree, compliance has been a big part of data governance and data management, all that stuff.
PCI has been the biggest driver in security in the last 5 years.
No doubt. However, companies are now sharing data more with other companies. Financial institutions are sharing core data with other financial institutions, which kind of teases out the trend of, I'll give you some of my data to fight the fraud detection market because it's $1 trillion problem.
Right.
So you start to see points of growth where, okay, you start to see people go outside their comfort zone on compliance to share data. So we're trying to rationalize that. Your thoughts, I mean, is that an indicator? Do you see that as a trend, or, I mean, obviously locking down the data would be,
I think it's challenging. I mean, we were at the President's Council on Security last year at Stanford, and President Obama got up there and made this impassioned speech about sharing data. That for the goodness of all of us, we need to share more data and be more secure.
Right.
And I got to tell you, you heard that speech and you're like,
no.
Yeah, baby, I am going to share my data. We're all going to work together. Right after him, Tim Cook got up there and said, I will never share my data with anybody in the government. And you heard him and you're like, I am never sharing my data with anybody.
There's a tension there, right?
Well,
There's a natural tension
This is the
between government
innovation.
and enterprise.
Well, I think there's also natural tension between enterprises. There's competitive issues, there's competitive pressures.
Apple certainly is a great case. They're like, hoard their data. Well, this is the dilemma, right? You want to have good policy, but innovation comes from experimentation, right? So like, it's a balancing act between what do you kind of do? How do you balance?
Yeah, it's a great time to be in our space. I mean, look at this floor. How many companies are here? Splunk is growing by 30%, the show itself. 30% per year. They're going to outgrow this venue next year, and they're going to have to go probably to Vegas or somebody. I think that's exciting. But these are all point products. The fastest growing segment in the computer business is managed services, because the complexity in that world is overwhelming, and it's extremely fragmented.
So talk about your business right now. What are you guys currently selling? How many employees do you have? What's the revenues like? What's the product mix?
Yeah, so we're a global company. So we have 10 offices worldwide, close to 300 employees. We're one of the fastest growing companies in North America. Our focus is managed security services. We do consulting as well as incident response remediation, but the day-to-day, we want your logs, we want to do monitoring, we want to help with escalation.
So you guys come in and do deployments and integration and then actually manage security for customers?
We do the sexy of getting it in, and then we also do the unsexy of managing it day-to-day.
It's all sexy, that's why the Cube's a household name. We have celebrities coming on now, soon they'll be on cable.
That's right, this will be a primetime show. It's funny, I got approached by a network, I can't tell you who, big network with a big producer to do a cybersecurity show. And so they approached me and they said, we think it's going to be so hot, it's such a topical thing. So they spent the day with me and our team to watch what we do.
Paint drying.
No paint drying. They're like, do you guys do anything besides sit on the computer?
You have a meeting, you look at a monitor.
Well, I mean,
not much of a show.
Have a gun?
Network TV, you have to add, someone has to die in the end. That has to be network TV. Yeah, but I mean, there's a problem. There's 1.4 million cyber jobs open right now. And that's not even including any data science statistics. So, so we're reporting
I'm sure it's the same thing in data science.
It's the same problem. How do you take a high skill that there's not enough talent for, hopefully computer science, education, all that stuff happens, and automate it. To your point about automation, this is the #1 problem. How do you guys advise clients? What the hell do they do?
Automation's tough. We just had this meeting before we got on here because in our managed service, it's people driven. We want to automate it. But there's only a certain amount of automation you can do. You still need that human element. I mean, if you could automate it, somebody could buy a product and they're secure.
Machine learning isn't where it's supposed to be, right? Every vendor aside, machine learning is not where it needs to be, but we're getting there. But just having succinct automation helps solve the cybersecurity labor shortage problem, because the skill level that you hire at can go lower. So you reduce the learning curve of who you need to hire.
That's a great point. I mean, I think the unsupervised machine learning algorithms are going to become so much smarter with the Splunk data, because that's a tough nut to crack, because you need to have some sort of knowledge around how to make that algorithm work. The data coming in from Splunk is so awesome, that turns that into an asset. So, this is a moving train, right? I mean, this is a big time. Okay, go step back for a second. I want to change gears. Robert, I want to get your thoughts, because since you're here and you do a lot of picking the stocks, if you will, on Shark Tank. In the tech world, our boring tech world, that's we love, by the way. So
we love too.
How do you, as someone who's got a lot of experience in the cycles of innovation, look at the changing digital transformation vendor landscape? Splunk, companies like Oracle trying to transform, Dell bought EMC.